Hello. Oh, there we go. Unmuted now. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the CUP Ringside. We have a ringside seat for all your favorite wrestling content here on YouTube or on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this. I am your host today, Brooke. Lana is currently out. She's feeling a little under the weather at the moment. So you just got me and Topher today. But I am your host, Brooke. I am your queen of the CUP Ringside. And I am so excited for our weekly ringside recap. Wrap up. Um, I'm drinking nothing.
Yes. It is now time for the Toph education. If you listen for a moment, you might hear something that might entertain you, or else you will be deleted.
Delete.
That's Matt Hardy.
The laugh was incredible.
Yes.
Great.
Well, I've been yassing a lot lately. You know, it's been yass season, a little bit of a brat season.
Mm-hmm.
So
you are in your brat era, just like the rest of this country.
So to kick things off, where we last left you, SmackDown happened, and it aired. There was SmackDown on Friday. You saw Andrade defeating Carmelo Hayes via pinfall. Jax stormed out of a satellite interview with WWE champion Bayley. Are we excited for Nia Jax versus Bayley? Just in general,
I'm going to be really excited for movement in the SmackDown Women's Division. That's what I'm excited about, because it's just been like, okay, Bayley won the title. The title win was delightful, right? She's defended it a few times on pay-per-view. Those have been good to fine matches. Nothing outstanding, but good stuff for the most part. And it's just been kind of boring because Bayley's not really done much.
SmackDown is lacking in the story area for me. Like, I was really excited for Nia Jax to like win Queen of the Ring, and I was like, she's in this new era, and I'm like really curious to see where they're going with her. But then like, we're not really getting much like between her and Bayley, and I feel like there's a lot of like story left on the bone, because like both of them sort of got left in the dust by the women's revolution, and they both had to crawl back through the ashes. I don't know. There's just stuff there. But we're not quite getting it. You had Bianca Belair defeating Chelsea Green. LA Knight and Logan Paul, they had their contract signing for the United States title. Good promo work back and forth. I just really don't want to give Logan Paul much more attention than what he's getting because of his outside of wrestling commentary that's really starting
I don't want to give him any more attention than he's given to the U.S. title. I'm not even going to take the outside of the ring stuff into equation. Screw him for that. But when it comes to like the as the champion part, saw this thing on Twitter the other day. He is the third longest reigning U.S. champion under the WWE banner, and he has had two title defenses.
Right. I'm really feeling like we're going to need to stop counting length of time as a statistic.
To a degree. I think it depends on like what you're doing in that reign, because even Roman, part-time himself, right? The first like year and a half, he wasn't part-time at all.
Right.
I give him that. So like when it comes to certain title belts held by certain YouTubers who shouldn't even be in this company,
right,
I have less sympathy.
Logan Paul is now the third reigning United States champion. Like, come on, Wade Barrett. We don't care. Like, he's not,
Yeah, it just, I need him to lose this belt to LA Knight. I know he's probably gonna, but I know we're not doing SummerSlam predictions today.
Which is good, because maybe LA Knight can really start to pick up momentum again, because
Yeah.
I did see an interview with LA Knight, and they were asking him about and they were like, what do you do like in public when you like see somebody and they give you like a and he's like, I have to do a double take, because first you hear it and you're like, because people could just be saying but then if you get a second one, then they're talking about you.
Yeah, I love LA Knight, but I mean, Do we want to talk about it? I feel like we kind of have to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
This mess with the SmackDown World Title scene right now.
Mm.
We talked about it last week. Still not hitting even remotely a little bit for me. The last time I was interested in anything to do with the Bloodline was when they kicked Paul Heyman out like a month and a half ago, right?
Yes,
That was it.
that
And
was
even then, I
good.
was more interested because I love Paul Heyman, not because of the rest of the Bloodline. I like Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu is great. Everybody else, meh.
And Cody Rhodes, he is in danger of losing the championship. They had like that brawl that ended SmackDown, right? Like, I don't know. Like, is Cody gonna beat Solo? Like,
Yes.
I feel that they're not doing Cody any favors by putting him in this program. They should have you know what they should have done?
What?
I think the smarter decision would have been to, during the draft post WrestleMania, they should have put Cody on Raw and they should have moved Damian to SmackDown to be on his own and really push Damian as a face and Cody. And like, then you could have had the Bloodline, a resurgence of the Bloodline with somebody else to go after that's not Cody Rhodes. So it doesn't feel like you're getting a less popular sequel.
Mm-hmm. I'm just not into it. The Bloodline, and this is something that Rikishi said on a podcast this week, was that he's surprised people are still into the Bloodline. My guy Keish, I don't think a lot of people are. I know Lana is, okay? And I know she's probably going to listen to this and be like, I love the Bloodline. I am a Bloodline girly. I've heard it. I know, I get it. I'm here with you, Lana. I support you and your decisions. It ain't hitting for me. It ain't hitting for Topher. And I'm assuming it's not hitting for a lot of people outside of us as well.
It's not even so much the Bloodline story that's not hitting. It's the Bloodline story continuing to be the Cody Rhodes. Because like the most interesting thing was against Paul Heyman. So why not give the Bloodline different, they should have just, they should have pulled Cody as far away from the Bloodline as possible.
I agree. Well, I mean, and the biggest thing I have about this, right? My biggest problem with the Bloodline and all this mess right now. Why is this the main event of SummerSlam? Why is this the main event of SummerSlam? Well, there are so many better programs right now that could have taken this slot, and this is just not it.
Yeah. No, every Gunther versus Damian Priest is a better program. You've got Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, which is a better program. And then the absolute best program going into SummerSlam that there is, bar none, no other story that should, could, or would take precedence is Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan. 100%.
Absolutely. And I mean, for me, especially considering I feel like we're getting robbed of women's main events. We haven't had one in a while on pay-per-view. And knowing that we have a golden opportunity right here, right? Because Triple H said something a while back. He's like, it's not that I'm not giving the women main events. It's just that there have been other stories that have been more compelling and people have wanted it to be the main event. I haven't seen an outpouring of people wanting a match to be a main event quite like I have for this in a long time.
Right.
And I mean, I hope that if this is basically already been confirmed to be in the main event through leaks and stuff. So sure, this better be when Roman comes back, because if it's not and this is the main event and it's a boring Cody title win as the main event again, I'm bored and I'm mad.
Yes.
But SmackDown, I'm gonna give it I'm not even 30. My cup is like 30% full, and that's just, it's a bummer. It was a bummer episode of SmackDown. SmackDown has been on a bummer streak lately, and like maybe it's just me, but SmackDown hasn't really been interesting since the draft. Maybe a little bit after the draft. Like it's been a while.
And the weekend was not filled with like crazy, oh my God, did you see what happened on SmackDown? Tweets and memes and TikToks. So,
I mean, like we said, the last time that happened was when Paul Heyman got put through the table on SmackDown.
It's really cool. It's like Bloodline beat down, Bloodline gets beat down. That's it.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so speaking of things that have been popping up all over, at least my social media, gonna talk a little bit about AEW real quick. The debut of Hologram this past week in AEW, formerly Aramis, in Mexico. A lot of people were thinking it was Ricochet, and I laughed a lot because I'm like, no tattoos, it can't be Ricochet. But the artist formerly known as Aramis is now signed into AEW as Hologram. Incredible debut versus Gringo Loco for me, for my money. In ring wise, character wise, we'll see. We'll see where things go. I'm not going to judge too early. Presentation was nice, but I don't know where we're at yet with the character. I don't get it yet, but I think the in ring work is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who this Hologram guy is. I've never seen them before. I did not watch the debut. I hope that it's enough to give AEW a nice little spike in the ratings, so maybe they could be the number 2 company again. Since TNA has very firmly taken that spot.
Well, okay, in your mind. I mean, if you're going based on weekly ratings, it's still AEW. But like, my thing with Hologram, right? And this is my big problem I've had with AEW for a while, right? It has nothing to do with the in-ring talent. I would argue that AEW has one of, if not the single most talented roster of people on the planet. My big problem with AEW is that I don't get the character motivations a lot of the time. And I watch, I see what's going on. This isn't one of those things where I'm one of those like, oh, WWE for life, anything in AEW is trash. No, they have a lot of good people over there doing a lot of really cool stuff. I just hope that they give Holograms something more than it is another cool luchador coming into AEW.
There's no stories. AEW, take a page out of the book. Your biggest stories are things that are actually like real backstage drama that they don't know how to capitalize on, and just makes them look like a messy company.
I will say that I do believe this weekend is a pay-per-view. If it's not a pay-per-view, there's a special on Dynamite coming up. I forget which one is which. But I hope and pray that we're keeping on this like sliding area of trying to work to that point, because to quote Vince Russo, I apologize if you're not a Russo fan, but I'm not really either. But there's something he said that I really agree with is I care a lot more about why 2 guys are fighting than how the fight actually looks.
Yes.
Right? And for me, yeah, I agree. I think a bad match can make a feud worse, but I don't think a great match can make a feud incredible, right?
Correct.
Like, that was already bad. And I think in this situation with Hologram coming in, he had a match with Gringo Loco, who's also not on the AEW roster, fun fact. He's just a guy that comes and shows up every now and then on a per appearance basis. It was a good match. Gringo Loco is a really great worker. You should sign him AEW. But I just don't know if we're at the point right now where I can say successful debut. Match is great. Still have no idea what the whole thing with Hologram is.
Dream match versus dream match versus dream match versus dream match. But why are they fighting? Do they have a problem with each other? Can that be so hard? Can 2 people in AEW just like actually have a problem with one another?
My big problem too with Hologram's debut was the fact that he was fighting Gringo Loco. It had nothing to do with Gringo Loco. He's an incredible worker, like I've said. I just wish it was somebody we kind of cared about on programming.
Right.
Because Gringo Loco's not around enough for us to care about him on programming.
Right. If you bring somebody in on top, they will be on top. But if you don't, then they have to work their way up. So, Well, good for Hologram. Let's see how successful he can be.
Well, speaking of successful people leaving one company and going to another company, this past weekend was Slammiversary at TNA. Great show from top to bottom. Couple of big things. One, Mike Bailey has won the X Division title again, defeating Mustafa Ali for that belt. I do believe Ali is on his way out of the company, from what I've heard. Also, I love Mike Bailey. They're great. Big fan of them, so I'm very happy. But also, in much more significant news, we have a new TNA World Champion. Nick Nemeth, the former Dolph Ziggler, has won the TNA World title after so many shenanigans. All of the shenanigans in the world. Did you watch Topher? Because I know
I didn't watch, but I saw the clips and I thought it looked amazing. I love Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler.
So So we got. Let me make sure I get everything right. Okay. So we get an elimination of Frankie Kazarian. Cool. Whatever. The elimination of former world champion Moose by Joe Hendry.
That was huge.
Big stuff there. A lot of people didn't think Moose was going to go out there. I personally didn't either. But big elimination right out of the box. Then Josh Alexander, who has been the babyface's babyface in that company for like 3 years, kicks Joe Hendry in the crotch, hits him with the C4 spike, and eliminates Joe Hendry. How do you make somebody a heel in 2 seconds? That's how. Good job. You did it. You made it. Good job, TNA. So then Josh goes out. And then Dolph Ziggler is your new TNA World Champion. It was a 6-person elimination match. So congrats to Dolph. This is his first big world title win since Money in the Bank all those years ago. I don't count that NXT title run. So yeah, good job, Dolph. I'm happy you won a belt and a company cares about you for once.
Well,
good job.
And he's got staying power. I think Dolph Ziggler is going, because I think the reason they didn't go with Joe Hendry is I don't know how much longer Joe Hendry's going to be in TNA, because Joe Hendry's the most popular NXT superstar. He doesn't even work for NXT.
You're not wrong. That's the sad part, is you're not wrong. Like, okay, you could make an argument to me for Wesley. I think the NXT crowd still loves Wesley, but like, come on. Did you hear that pop when he came on the Battle Royal?
Oh my God, they were singing his music.
We love that guy. It was his first appearance, and they're singing his music already. The guy's over as hell. Arguably the most over man in pro wrestling right now, and I don't think you could change my mind on that. But
no, top. The fact that he's making top 10 lists in most listened to musics out that like transcends wrestling.
He was on the UK, like the UK version of the Billboard charts,
right?
With when he dropped his entrance theme. That's incredible. I'm sorry, that's amazing. He was like number 4 on the UK pop charts, and I'm like, what? That's nuts. But yeah, congrats to Dolph, Nick, whatever we're calling you this week. I'm happy for you. Wes, I did ask Wes if he was going to be here today, and he said he almost could, but he was very tired. But he wanted me to say, and I quote here, yes, woo, go Dolph. That's my boy. Go Dolph Ziggler. Thank you so much. So congrats to Nick. But now we got to talk about what happened after Slammiversary, which is this past Monday night on Raw. So, Raw, it's been on a bit of a better streak, at least compared to SmackDown, because SmackDown has been boring as mud lately. Open up, we get this nice promo between Gunther and Priest. Like, this cemented the face-heel line on this one. Priest is still working like a tweener and has been since Mania, but it was a really great segment. Priest was really cool. Priest was awesome, and I think this segment was really awesome and like built this feud up better. And it was like Gunther's like, "Oh, you thought I went too far last week? Well, I don't care. I stand by everything." Great stuff.
What if Priest beats Gunther?
Mm-hmm. I don't think he will. I don't see a way for that to happen. But I will say, we've been wrong before. So we've been wrong before. We thought Sami Zayn was losing the IC title to Braun Breaker, which note. And
Priest beat Braun Strowman clean.
Yeah, clean. Like, to be fair, they got to keep him looking strong going into defense against Gunther. I don't think him beating Braun with cheating or like, especially considering they're trying to make him the face in this feud. Like, I don't know how they could do that with him cheating and winning that way, but I think Priest is looking really good right now. He has been a phenomenal world champ. He has proved all the doubters wrong, in my opinion. Is it time for him to lose the belt? I think to Gunther specifically, yes. But I will say that Money in the Bank briefcase is just kind of lingering. It's just kind of lingering in the background of our SmackDown. Right? Oh, listen. Hold on. Listen, hold up. Okay. It's kind of lingering in the back of my mind. I know Drew already cashed it in and all that stuff and all that, whatever, okay? But I'm kind of thinking a little bit more long-term, right? And I know Money in the Bank literally just happened, so don't cut my chickens out here. But, like, if Priest doesn't lose the title now, right? Like, he beats Gunther clean. When is he dropping the belt anytime soon? Because, like, Gunther's out of the picture if you beat him, in my opinion, right? Is there anybody that's even remotely in the echelon to be able to challenge him anytime soon outside of maybe Finn Balor?
But does Finn Balor versus Damian Priest need the title?
It doesn't. That's what I'm saying.
But I don't want to see interference take place either. Like, I want a straight up one-on-one match between Gunther and Damian Priest, and I want Gunther to go over.
I think what would be really cool is if we have one of those segments where like Finn is just kind of like at ringside being there, and like the entire match he's like being cheap and like kind of costing Gunther a little bit here and there, and Priest is like, no, I want to win this the right way. And then when one of those times where Priest is telling Finn to go away and leave him alone, Gunther beats Priest, and then we get the turn. That would be awesome. But I just, in my mind, Gunther's one of those people that if when he wins this world title, he's holding it forever. Like, I don't care. I want him to hold it for ages. We need that guy. He is that guy. Priest, I think, is one of those times where this is like the last time for a while I feel like he could lose it. And if he doesn't lose it here, at the absolute earliest I see him losing it is at Royal Rumble. Like, and that's just me. I just don't see him, especially with like Survivor Series, and not happening. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens there. But moving on a little bit further, Lyra Valkyria versus Sonya Deville. Sonya gets a relatively clean win with the Deville's Advocate. I will say there was like a brawl outside, but Sonya didn't do anything with that. It just distracted Lyra. That's not her fault. Love seeing our trio of lesbians do trio of lesbian things. So great job there. Punk is now cleared to compete. Cool. We knew that was going to happen for SummerSlam anyway. Seth Rollins is the special guest referee for CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Don't like that even a little bit.
Isn't needed.
No.
It's convoluted.
Not even this much.
But this is my thought of what's going to happen, because if they're not going to put Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk as the main event, I think the match is going to end quickly. And I think it's going to be like they're either going to like get into like a legit fight with each other, because I mean, two guys that hate each other that much, that's the only thing that can happen, is they have to like sort of a la Matt Hardy and Edge at SummerSlam 2005.
Mm-hmm.
How it just ended up being in like a total brawl.
Yeah, honestly, the one way I see this ending is Rollins costing McIntyre here and Rollins turning heel, because you're telling me that Seth Rollins isn't a little mad that Drew came down and cashed in that Money in the Bank briefcase?
No, he's got to be mad. He's 100% mad.
Yeah, I want Seth to cost McIntyre this thing so we can get past the Drew CM Punk stuff.
I love this Drew CM Punk stuff.
It's just been going on since the Royal Rumble, Topher.
We're going to have a Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood, and it's
we are not.
Yes,
please,
that's
dear
the whole
God,
reason.
no.
In Atlanta,
Please,
Hell in a Cell, Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. It's going to main event it, and it is going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be even better when this feud ends, because it's been going on since the Rumble, and I'm over it.
It can go on until next year's WrestleMania 41, headlined by CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
No, back on topic.
In a 3 stages of hell match.
Shut it, Topher. Dear God. So Final Testament get a win over Tozawa, Otis, and Xavier Woods, because Kofi's still out with that injury, air quotes. Good. Make Cross look strong for once, dear God, I beg you. We get a segment with Chad Gable trying to get Tozawa, Maxine, and Otis to run up with him in the Creeds. That basically goes nowhere, and then they beat him down, obviously. And then the Wyatts appear. Cool. Chad gets hit with his sister Abigail. Why? Why are we doing this? I really wish they would go after anyone else.
I like the Wyatt stuff.
Okay, but the Wyatts are a heel group going after one of the most vicious heels on programming right now in terms of how he's been portrayed. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's bad decision on that part, but maybe it's because the Wyatts are actually not bad guys. They're good guys. They're very positively motivated.
Did you see that debut?
They lost their, but yeah, they're so, I mean, if you lost your brother and your friend and your however else compadre, and then you've been buried on television for years at a time, and you finally get to don a mask, would you not want to murder everybody backstage too, including Gable?
including Chad Gable, Gunther, Carmelo Hayes, Seth Rollins, all the members of the production team, etc.
Yeah.
Like, okay, not going to talk about the Wyatts too much today. We don't have a ton of time for that, but I'm not displeased with their appearance here. I just wish they were feuding with someone else. Let me put it that way. So then Sheamus comes out, has this whole thing out, breaking up a match between Pete Dunne and Bronson Reed. After Bronson Reed beat the crap out of him last week. What happened to Tyler Bate? Did something happen to Tyler Bate? Where's he been? I have no idea.
I like his.
I love Bop and Bang. Yes, I'm a big fan. So then we get this segment with Rhea and Liv. My favorite part of Raw this week, personally. Dominic is back with Rhea. Liv leaves the arena crying, right? And
Dirty Dom is a heartbreaker.
When Dom turns to SummerSlam, it is going to hit. I swear, it's gonna feel so good. Like, I know that's what a lot of people don't want, and they want everyone to turn on Dom and Rhea and Damian. They want JD and Carlito and Finn to leave them. But like, no. Dominic needs to leave Judgment Day on his own and go be with Liv Morgan, and it's gonna be delightful. Because the rest of Judgment Day has been acting like faces lately, and I want to see it. And I think Dom leaving is the best for that group.
And Dirty Dom is a phenomenal heel, and he's getting a little too much babyface for me. So it is time for Dirty Dom to show us why he is the dirtiest Dom in the game. This man went to prison, okay? He spent a whole 2 hours in a county jail. That's hard time for somebody like Dirty Dom.
You're right. They didn't serve him honey mustard with his chicken tendies.
Exactly. He's been 2 hours away from mommy.
Yeah. So Zelina Vega with a clean win over Zoe Stark. Good stuff there for her. Then we get Jey Uso and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day. Zayn hitting JD with a Helova kick to win. Cool. Awesome. Great stuff. Braun Breaker and Ilya Dragunov. I skipped it on purpose. I promise. Okay. Slugfest between Braun and Ilya in the middle of Raw. Great match, by the way, from start to finish. So, Braun, I don't know how this man is like a human being that exists on this planet. So it was the number one contenders match. Winner fights Sami Zayn for the IC title at SummerSlam. And it looks like it's like a relatively even match. Braun makes the referee stop the match. Right?
Why did he do that?
Well, not like he himself, like his actions did. But Braun hits this nasty. I will again repeat, nasty spear out of the air, right? Dragunov hits the apron. So Dragunov's on the apron, about to do one of those like running off the apron things to the outside, spears him out of midair, and Dragunov's head hits the apron, or at least that's what they want you to think. So referee, it is Daphne LaShawn, by the way, my queen, does not allow the match to continue. Braun is now once again fighting Sami for the IC title at SummerSlam. He's winning this time, I swear.
Definitely.
And then, right as Zayn and Jay are celebrating, turn around, bam, Braun Breaker spear right onto Sami Zayn. Keep that IC title feud going hot into SummerSlam. Absolutely. Great stuff there. On the whole, Raw was better than SmackDown this week, and that's all I can really say.
And once Raw gets brought down to 2 hours when they join Netflix and become R-rated, it's going to be phenomenal.
Sure. TVMA, here we come. For me, 60 out of 60. It was a better than average episode of Raw, but not much else. It was just fine. So, last little big piece of news. Little big. Oxymoron right there. The Motor City Machine Guns are signing with WWE.
Yes. I loved the Motor City Machine Guns back in 2006 at TNA when they were a hot tag team.
Don't do this to MCMG.
They are going to be great backstage producers. I give them a 1 year hot run on camera, and then boom, they will disappear to Jamie Noble Land.
Okay, first off, I'm not going to have you besmirch the name of my beautiful MCMG. These are my guys. I am huge fans, especially of Chris Sabin. Alex Shelley is always been like the Jeff Hardy of this tag team, but like I just love Chris Sabin's in-ring work. I think he's really underrated on the mic too. But like both of these guys are former TNA World Champions. Alex Shelley was World Champion last year, so it wasn't even that long ago. Chris Sabin has more X Division title reigns than anybody on the planet. He has 10, which is nuts. Alex Shelley, also a former X Division champion, multiple-time TNA tag champs here. Arguably one of the backbones of the TNA tag division from like 2008 to 2011. You know, that time period where TNA was like one of the hottest wrestling programs on earth, if not the hottest wrestling program on earth, because WWE kind of sucked. This was like peak TNA. They split up for a few years. Chris actually retires for a few years. Alex goes to New Japan, forms the Time Splitters tag team with Kushida, if you remember Kushida. They're really successful over there. Chris comes back to work, wins the TNA World title from Bully Ray. Great stuff there, too. Kushida signs at WWE. Alex Shelley has one match in NXT in the Dusty Classic, teaming with Kushida. They lose. I don't remember. It might have been to GYV. And then they go back to TNA. MCMG come back together. Great stuff across the board. There was some injury stuff that happened at one point. But, I mean, on the whole, for modern day wrestling, they're nowhere near close to retirement yet. They're in their like late 30s. Like, give them another 6-7 years.
Oh, they've got a whole nother 10 years in them. Now wrestling, you've got, wrestling in your early 40s is your prime.
Yeah, truly. I mean, look at LA Knight.
I do think that they're going to do really well. Maybe they'll put them in a storyline with the Bloodline.
Let's not put that in the universe, Topher. What I hope they do with them, right, and this is just me, I want them to get thrown into Raw, right? Don't put them in NXT at all. They don't need it. They don't need to acclimate at all. They have the name and the legitimacy. Don't need it. You put them on Raw. Like, let's say you have Judgment Day defends the tag titles against, like, random loser tag team from Raw. I don't know. And then after the match, Judgment Day is being heels and like all this shit, and all of a sudden you just hear the little engine vroom, and then you see Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, and then boom, feud immediately. Let hotshot them to the tag belts; they deserve it.
And then have them get squashed by the Wyatt family.
Have them get squashed by Braun Strowman and a child out of the audience.
That will happen. No, I think they're going to be great. The sky's the limit, and I'm excited for Triple H to have them because Triple H will know what to do with them. I just don't have a lot of faith for tag team wrestling, so maybe they'll split them up real quick, and they'll both get incredible singles runs because we need more top stars in the singles division. Maybe over on SmackDown.
I think you're right. I think if they do split them up, I think one is going to do significantly better than the other, but now is not the conversation for that. I'm just excited that they're finally coming. It has been one of those, like, when are Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley going to WWE? Oh, the answer's never kind of things for several years. Yeah, so I'm excited to see what they do. However, talking about them coming to probably, they have not officially signed. We're going to say this is the rumor going around is that they are expected to sign. Yep. Nothing has been confirmed yet. We got to talk about the people that are leaving because Bobby Lashley, Tamina, and MVP all on their way out, apparently. Let's break it down item by item because I feel like this is a lot of mess going on. Tamina has been basically retired for a few years. Not a huge shock that she's leaving the company officially. I
don't think she's not going anywhere. She's just leaving.
Yeah, they're finally taking her off the roster page, essentially. I was always a big fan of Tamina. I know we would make jokes about Tamina because, there's nobody Mina than Tamina. But I think she should have won the women's title off Bayley all those years ago on SmackDown. I really do, during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And that tag title win with her and Natalya was a very satisfying moment for me as a wrestling fan. So I'm happy that she has had the career she's had. She's one of the longest tenured people in the company right now, man or woman. So big ups to Tamina. I'm really happy that you had this career. Thank you so much. Do we want to talk about MVP and Bobby Lashley at the same time?
Yes.
Because I feel like we kind of have to.
I have a prediction. This is my hunch because thanks to Booker T on his podcast, I think the whole Hurt Locker is going to debut in TNA.
The Hurt Business?
Yes, the Hurt Business. Because in exchange for all of TNA's best stars coming to NXT, we've really sent them nobody. And now we can send them former world champion, former United States champion, Bobby Lashley, and MVP.
Okay, but we got to talk about what MVP put on his Instagram this past weekend, because I feel like, well, it was last week, but it really came over this past weekend. So MVP basically called Triple H racist. There was a lot going on. I will say this as someone who is whiter than white. I'm not going to comment on the validity of that. What I will say is MVP is one of the best talkers in the company right now as the manager. He's an incredible manager. I really think separating him from Bobby originally was a mistake, especially considering Bobby not great on the mic. So you should have kept them together. I don't get why we had to split them up in the first place. But even then, that was a Vince decision. So Triple H, you have the handles to do this and you don't. And I don't get it. Especially considering the Pride. Have we seen them since WrestleMania? I don't recall seeing them since WrestleMania.
No, we've not seen a lot of them, which is a shame because Montez Ford was like on his way to becoming a really hot single star and then squashed.
Ball. Yeah. But, I mean, let's talk about Bobby, because out of the three people here, he is probably the most, I don't want to say the most surprising, but the one that's, like, actually going to leave a ripple effect on the company by leaving. Multiple-time world champion Bobby Lashley. This is a big loss, I think, for the company. I know he is older now. He's in his mid-40s. But
it is. Is he going to go to TNA or AEW? He's not going to AEW. AEW definitely won't be able to use him because he's not your traditional pro wrestler. And they're going to be like, oh, Bobby Lashley is not a dream match with anybody. Nobody wants to see Daniel Bryan versus Bobby Lashley.
I mean, I feel like that's probably happened at some point. But, like, between Bobby leaving right now, especially considering after the whole Hurt Business thing has been gone for a while, I really thought that we were going to be seeing more Bobby Lashley after WrestleMania. I thought that, the Pride had I don't want to say a huge win, but they beat the Final Testament at Mania in a pretty good match. I'll give them that. I thought maybe it would be one of those things where it's like, okay, it took them a little bit of time to build the momentum, but now that they've got it, and it's going to go. And it just hasn't went anywhere. They've been basically off TV. And, like, knowing what has happened with Cedric, right? Because Cedric's back in NXT now. Him and Ashanti went down to NXT. I just feel really bad for everyone that has been involved in the Hurt Business. Like, all of them. Because hearing what MVP has said, he was like, hey, we wanted to have me, Shelton, Bobby, Cedric, and I think the other person was Isaiah Swerve Scott when he was still with WWE, and they told him he could only pick one, and they picked Cedric. Because Swerve was still doing his stuff in NXT at the time. So, knowing where Cedric has been, up until very recently, he's been off TV for like a year. Shelton's gone. He's been gone for like a minute from WWE. And then MVP, I mean, he's been Omos's manager, but I mean, when's the last time we saw Omos on TV? So, like, it's just all of these people, like 3 years ago, were one of the hottest groups in the company. And now all of them are gone but one, and the other person just lost a match to Trick Williams on NXT. Like,
yeah. I mean, I guess we just kind of got to wait and see how it's going to play out. But I think Bobby Lashley has more potential elsewhere. And I don't really want to comment so much on the texture of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, it's all of it, because everybody that seems to be not being used properly would have like a legitimate reason to beat up Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I do want to just comment on this, okay? And this is not me saying this. I saw this on a tweet from a wrestling pundit whose name I am forgetting offhandedly here. You look at where some of the black talent was before Triple H took over and compared to where they are now, it is very interesting when you see somebody like Bianca Belair, who was tippy top of the women's division, is now in a tag team with Jade Cargill and doing their thing. And I have no problems with that. Like specifically that, because I think that's going to be a really cool feud going into Mania. But it does raise some questions. And I think at this point, we're really going to have to see if we get more stars coming up that represent more communities, because, you know, we're losing 3 right now. I mean, granted, Tamina's been gone, but we're losing 3 of them right now. And I haven't seen anybody really be built up to, like, be that face for those groups of people that aren't just white people, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, you know, maybe they're just sitting there going, well, we got a whole roster of Samoans.
Why do we have so many Samoans?
Nepotism.
Here's what happened. They realized they were losing Tamina, so they signed like 3 more Samoans.
Yeah. As in Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I love Jacob Fatu. He's great. But regardless, what do you guys think about this week? What do you think has been going on in the wrestling world? Do you think that any of these things were a big deal that we forgot to talk about? We probably forgot to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely left out the Unhindered tour with Jinder Mahal debuting in GCW.
Oh, hey. Don't hinder Jinder. Regardless, I'm excited to see what Jinder does. But regardless of all of that stuff, let us know what you guys think about this week in the comments down below. Tell us, you know, who do you think is going to be the biggest loss for WWE in these cuts, and why is it Bobby Lashley? Who do you think? The dogs of Topher have spoken. Who do you think is gonna? Where do you think Motor City Machine Gun's gonna go if they sign? Do you think Cody versus Solo should be the main event? Let us all know all of those fun things down in the comments down below. But for Topher, who cannot speak at the moment because his dogs are barking, I am Brooke. This has been the CUP Ringside Wrap Up, and we will see you guys next time. Cheers.
Yes. Can't believe we hear the gender on this podcast.
Don't
merch! Don't forget your merch.
Oh, yeah, CUP merch. CUP merch. Shop at LanaGCreations.etsy.com.